Hey, what's up guys, OP Gamer here, and welcome to the third episode of the weekly Roundup, where we discuss every single news that happened within the last week. We start off right away with Final Fantasy Rebirth. This announcement happened at the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and along with that announcement came Crisis Core Remaster, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate for PC, and Square Enix finally decided to show off some pretty extensive news about the second part of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is called Rebirth. They revealed that the release date for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is sometime in 2023, which would make it 3 years since the original remake came out on PS4. It is also confirmed that the Rebirth will be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, or at least a launch exclusive for now. It may come to PC sometime later, just like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Integrate, but we'll just have to see about that. It is also confirmed that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is also currently in development. It was also reported by Games Radar that PS5 Pro Controller is in development. The Pro Controller will feature a removable analog stick, trigger stop, and rare buttons, according to try-hard guides. It says here that Sony never really got into making a PlayStation Pro Controller before. It was always made by third-party publishers. So this is definitely something that I can see why Sony would want to do and start to continue doing. Because a lot of people like to buy into these things, and obviously because of these rumors about the PlayStation 5 Pro Controller, people are also speculating that there will be a Pro console coming along with it. But that's just speculation. Moving on to the next topic, it's about the PlayStation Plus new service having finally launched in the US and will launch very soon in EU as well. Overall, a lot of people are worried about subscribing to the new service because there really aren't that many very beloved titles that are on the service. Many PS2 games aren't available on the service yet. The original Silent Hill or Metal Gear Solid and many other beloved titles are abandoned. And also PlayStation 3 games remain only playable via streaming. And the reason why it's only stream-based is understandable, but it's also understandable that people don't like streaming their games because of lag input as well as loss of quality and fidelity, which happens to a lot of these streaming games on PS3 unfortunately. Hopefully Sony will notice all of these complaints and possibly add a lot more games in the future, and possibly add a lot more classic games to the service soon. And in regards to the streaming of games on PS3, I know it's going to be very difficult because of the PlayStation 3 architecture, but if they can somehow make PlayStation 3 games purchasable and downloadable on the store instead of streaming them, then for me that would be a complete game changer, and I would totally subscribe to the service if all PlayStation 3 games were downloadable instead. We also recently had the Xbox and Bethesda event, as well as Capcom's event. And to quickly summarize, in the Xbox event, the big news that came up was that the entire Persona franchise is finally coming to Xbox and PC soon. The other news is that Kojima Productions will be working on a video game for Xbox. It wasn't clear what the video game will be about and there was no announcement for the game, but Hideo Kojima did announce that it will be utilizing cloud technology. So obviously that may be a concern for many people because cloud is still not a very popular and beloved thing amongst many people, we're just not there yet. But I do have trust in Hideo Kojima, and I think he's going to make a very unique title and a different experience, so I'm going to keep my eyes on the game whether it's a cloud game or not. The final big news out of the Xbox event was the gameplay of Starfield. Now Starfield, in my opinion, for a Bethesda game, seems very much true to its own style. It did look fun and looked great, especially for a Bethesda game. It definitely seems like an RPG that many people will have fun with. But I must admit that it wasn't impressive in terms of the gameplay that they have shown, the performance, the fidelity, as well as the animations. Let's not forget that this is a Bethesda game. The Bethesda games aren't really known for graphics and performance. They're basically known for making very big open world games where you can do whatever you want. And most Bethesda titles do report to have a lot of issues and bugs, especially on launch day. I'm not too concerned about those things, I just hope that the game isn't too big and too empty at the same time. But we'll just have to see, so let's keep our eyes on that one. We have some news regarding the developers of Returnal, Housemarque. Housemarque stated that the possibility of a second part of Returnal is totally reasonable, but it won't come out anytime soon, because they said that they're going to make a new IP first, and then start work on the second Returnal. Now Returnal is Housemarque's most successful and popular title, so it would totally make sense that they start production on the second one. As reported by VGC, Housemarque confirmed it was working on a new IP with PlayStation earlier this year. Quote, "Returning was so ambitious, we dreamt super big, but we still have to leave so much on the cutting room floor. All of these ideas and narrative systems, I'm super excited to pick up those pieces and see how those fit our new IP story. We didn't quite have the handle on how big Returnal was going to be. Building for a new platform on a new engine with a new team, all of those things require some learning. Now we have that team that has gone through the fire and learned how to build a game like Returnal, so now we get to start off stronger. I think we've learned the importance of pacing and how difficult that is in a roguelike game. It's very hard to control and say, okay, now we hit them with this perfect story beat. That's kind of the beauty of linear games. You get to control that absolutely perfectly. Letting go of that and somehow building the sandbox or the playground for players in a way that means certain story blocks become available is challenging. He also commented about the storyline of Returnal, laughing, "I can't comment on that too much, but I think the boys did slip sometime earlier this year that we are working on an original IP. Of course, if we return to Celine's story after that remains to be seen." So yeah, we always knew that Returnal 2 is definitely in the works. I mean, there's just no way they're going to abandon this title, seeing how successful the first part was. We just don't know when Returnal 2 will happen and when the new IP will get announced. But hopefully Sony will have an event very soon showcasing the new IP that Housemarque currently is teasing, fingers crossed. Moving on to the next topic, Activision dig themselves in a deeper hole. They say that there is no systemic harassment at Activision. I really don't understand why they're saying this, it makes no sense. It's like someone hitting another person in the face and that same person saying that, hey, I didn't hit that guy in the face. Well, obviously they're going to say that, because if they say otherwise, they're going to get in trouble. Of course, after this, many people were making fun of Activision online and on Twitter, and the gist of it is basically people are saying that Activision is calling themselves innocent, and we're supposed to just believe them because they said it. Hopefully Activision gets their things together soon, because the company is seemingly going down a hole, and it will eventually be their downfall, if it's not already. Next up is Capcom asking fans if they like Dead Rising or Dino Crisis in a recent survey. So yeah, this is pretty exciting news. I mean, why would Capcom ask their own fans if they like these two franchises unless there is a revival in the works? Of course, after this happened, many people started speculating if Capcom is developing or wants to develop and go back to revive the two beloved franchises. Otherwise, why would they have a survey available asking people if they like these? I personally love Dead Rising. It was one of my favorite games when it came out. I actually even attempted to platinum Dead Rising 2, and I also liked Dead Rising 4 even though a lot of people hated it. I enjoyed it very much, and you know, I do agree that the story and characters as the franchise evolved weren't as impactful as the old classics like Dead Rising 2. They're still generally fun to play. Yes, they are basic, but fun nonetheless. And also Dino Crisis is again very beloved by many, and just reviving these two games makes the most sense, especially in an era where remakes are getting made left and right. The last topic is Capcom announcing that Resident Evil Village will have a DLC named Cold Shadows of Rose. This DLC is included in the expansion named Cold Winters, which includes 3 things: a third-person mode for Resident Evil Village, many updates to the Mercenary mode, and of course, the Shadows of Rose DLC. They also confirmed that the new DLC will be completely free. Capcom's executive officer Yoichi Igawa said in a report, quote, "We will drive our customer management to understand the plane trains and preferences of users while also building a business model for online operations, taking into account the situation of our free additional DLC for titles such as Monster Hunter Rise and Resident Evil Village." So it's definitely neat to see that they are giving us all the DLC for free along with all the additional updates. As long as you own the game, then you are liable to have all of these updates and the DLCs free to download on your system. There was also the announcement of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil 7 getting next-gen enhancements, as well as a PC patch, basically making the game much better in terms of visuals, fidelity, and performance. And it's free to download right now on your preferred system. That is all the news for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the weekly roundup. Let me know your thoughts down below about everything discussed, as I would love to hear your opinions. Also leave a like if you enjoyed the video, because that will boost the engagement up. And subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And don't forget to hit the bell notification icon to never miss any future uploads. That's all from me now. I'll catch you guys next time.